husband lost his job. I would like to tell an interesting fact is that education-wise, I come from a psychology background, and HR just happened because those days HR was the in thing and it was a boom. Nobody will stand by us like family, so we have to be there for them.
Did that role inspire you to take it forward, or you just said, because I had to take it, I had to? Hi everyone, and welcome to Midway Masters, a podcast where mid-career meets mastery. I'm your host Shalini. You are in the space of unlocking the secret of success in middle of your professional journey. Whether you are climbing the ladder, switching your gears, or sharpening your leadership edge, we are here to equip you with the insights and the tools you need to turn your mid-career into a masterpiece. Each episode, we sit down with professions who've been there, done that, and are ready to share their game changing strategies which have helped them turn their mid career into a masterpiece. Today, we have Randall, who comes with 14 years of experience in talent acquisition, leadership hiring, and HR strategy. Hi, Randall, welcome to the show.
Hi,
How are you
Shalini.
doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me over.
My pleasure. I think I must say, after 7 years, we're meeting together.
Yeah,
I'm really very happy and thank you so much for making yourself
no
available.
problem at all.
Right. So before we get in started, right, Randall? First, always I had a challenge when I joined. Just to give you an update, we both worked in one of the e-commerce company together for almost 3 years, Randall.
Yeah.
And after 3 years, after a long gap of 7 years, we've been catching up again today. So I always had challenge with you. Like, when initial days when, we got ourselves introduced, Randall, I always got confused with Candle. The frustration that you had, it's not Candle, it's Randall.
I know.
Hmm.
So I think first of all, my name's a boy's name, so a lot of people get confused, and then I used to be called different kinds of things. The security once came and asked, I don't know if it was you were part of that event. He came very seriously and he's like, and he came, approached me, and he's like, ma'am, is there anybody called Candle? And I'm like, that's not Candle, and that's Randall, and that's me. A candidate was waiting, and I was like, oh my god, people get my name right. It's frustrating.
We always had that challenge, right? I think
Yeah.
every event people used to get confused by your names.
I think after a certain point, I used to keep pseudo names. I used to tell the candidates my name is Shalini.
I've heard this.
Because I was so fed up again, telling my name. It would almost take 5 minutes to tell my name.
Yeah, I know
So,
that. I know
yeah.
that. When I say, Randall, the 3 years of the journey we have spent together in one of the e-commerce company, okay, I've seen always you giving more prominence to your family first. For you, every time the family is the first,
Yes.
right? Like how do you set that example and give that values to your son basically?
So before, I've had 5 years of work experience, and then I took a career break of 3.5 years.
Oh.
After that, I came in, and Amazon happened at a time when I think it was just God's hand, I would say, that I just was looking for a job, and a very good friend of mine, she was pulling me into every company that she went to, and the third company that she pulled me wanted me to join was, and I was not ready for it. I told her the office is too far, I don't want to join, and she literally called me and she's like, please come, they will provide cab service, you just come no matter how far it is.
So I think your son was just very small. I think
He was
born
hardly,
not wrong.
no, he was around 3.5, 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I joined. And at that moment, after I think 1 or 2 months of me joining, my husband lost his job.
Oh,
And that was the second time that he was losing his job. And for almost a year, 10 months he was without a job.
Oh God.
And it took a big toll on us because we had a small child to look after, and who was going to a school, a small preschool. Even if it's preschool, it was a school, and it was financial commitment. We were staying in a rented house. We had to pay the rent, we have to pay the bills and everything. So the first time my husband lost his job, then I was expecting for my son, and both times our families have stood by us as strong pillars. So they are a big support, and I always tell my son and my husband, nobody will stand by us like family, so we have to be there for them.
I love this, and I think that gives us so much, importance. We say, we always have that strength, saying that somebody is there to back us up.
Yes,
Right? That is the family, all
yeah,
right? I think you're blessed with it. I
Yeah.
really feel so happy.
yes, and I think one more thing I would like to add is, my mom especially is always, encouraged me to be financially independent. So when I started looking for job, I was, at cross ends, leaving a small little toddler at home. But they were the ones who kind of pushed me. They're like, it's okay, you go for a job, we'll look after your child, don't worry about him. And they kind of gave me that strength to take that next step to take up a job.
But somewhere did you even feel that, you're missing your son still young, and it was important for you at that time to spend time with the son, because that is when actually the bond builds in between the son and the mother.
Yes.
Did you feel guilty about it, or did you say it is fine, to give some time for the son and then time for yourself to build in your career? Because it's important for us to build our career if we have to look at the next generation of our kids.
Exactly. So, having spent 3.5 years with him, I thought he's gonna kind of, start crying for me. But honestly, when I took up the job, as you said, it was, he was pretty much okay with me taking up a job and working and everything. But I was the one who was feeling guilty. Mom's guilt always kind of, works for us. But I would do something small, just maybe to satisfy myself, I would say. I had this habit that from the time I started working, that every month that I get my salary, the first thing what I would do is buy something small for my son.
How sweet it is.
Yes,
How sweet it is.
Yeah, so I don't know whether it was to keep him happy or to make my conscience happy, but that was my first thing I would do when I get my salary. I would, even if it is like, a small thing within 1,000, within 500, because small kids, they don't expect something bigger.
Very right, very right.
They just need, that little love, what you do for them, that's more than enough. So.
Very right. And I think it is important now, if you have to see the kind of, the expenses that we have.
Yes.
Every time that we get our salary, first thing what we do is to repay the bills.
Right.
Could be our loans, the bills that we need to clear.
Yeah.
But I think it is very important for us to spend time, spend that money for ourselves first,
Yes.
our own people first, and then spend it out to the others.
Yes. Very true.
Right?
Yeah.
Only then I know the value of the money there. And when we're not able to satisfy our own self, okay, then what's the point of working 9 to 5 job, we stretch quite, then all the hard work is not there, right? Very right. I really like the concept when you say that, buying something for the kid. I know, yeah, very, very nice, okay? I know.
Thank you.
The struggle, if you see, I think you started off something with 3,500 as a salary first.
Yes.
Scaled up from from here to there.
Yes.
Right. So how has that journey been, and how did you even support your husband with with a very less amount, having a small kid, no job, family, the rent, all the other expenses? How did you come across, pass through that struggle of life?
I'm very, very kind of, I had a God experience when I was 17 years old, and I think God has been my biggest strength for me, I would say. And when I started off working, where I was like young age of 22 years old, so those days, my first salary was 5,000, by the way, and my first month salary what I got was 3,500 rupees. So those days I was like pretty chill, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm just working just to make money. Everybody is working and all that stuff. I would like to tell an interesting fact is that from education wise, I come from a psychology background, and HR just happened because those days HR was the in thing and it was a boom. So I just got into this field, But I think I've enjoyed a lot meeting different kind of people and everything. So
Do you think the psychology as a background of your degree did give you some support to build your career in HR?
definitely.
Yeah.
I think I've used a lot of my knowledge about body language, the way people sit, the way people talk to you. Are they interested? Not interested? I think I've used that a lot in my career.
Okay.
Um,
So that
and-
means that actually help you a lot to understand, because let's say human resource, it's all about understanding the human
yes,
emotions. So do you think this psychology actually supported
definitely,
you?
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. You want to give us some more in detail about how you scaled up? I know when we work together in the same team, quite a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Right? Because were playing a crucial role, I must say. Interacting with the candidates, your stakeholders, and recruiters.
Yeah.
All three together targeting. I still remember one of the days where we had candidates around 20-25 candidates, Randall, that we had on that event.
Yes.
So remember the day that we had that India Pakistan match?
Yes,
And
that
we had
found-
Allosaurus to it.
Yeah, it was so challenging. It was so frustrating. We both, I kind of, were arguing about not having panels. I think, handling so many stakeholders at a time. One, you're handling like 3-4 recruiters at a time, and then you're handling 30-40 candidates at a time, and then you're handling the business at the time. It is pretty challenging, but I think somewhere you kind of create that balance, it kind of becomes you to create that balance. I've had a lot of business coming and ask me, how do you handle so many candidates? How was it? I'm like, I don't know. It's just inbuilt now that, we've been in the HR field. I think it just kind of builds in you that you kind of build yourself to you go through all these challenges.
I know. I think few days we had Vesi versa also. We had panels many and just around 5 candidates.
Yeah.
Right. So we were supposed to be answerable to quite a lot of people.
Yes.
Because it was on a weekend drive that we used to have. Right?
Yes.
But how did you manage that kind of pressure coming in from all three sides, pushing you hard, saying that recruiters put quite a lot of pressure, saying that Randall, these interviews are very critical. It has to go in smooth, because again, it's a matter of the candidate experience to our recruiters' performance there, and panels pressure again, because I have spent my extra time on a Saturday doing the interviews.
Yes.
Right, and again, candidates sometimes come, they don't have patience even to wait.
Correct.
Right? How did you handle all these pressure during those weekends?
I would say the key point is building a good rapport
Agree
with
you.
all your stakeholders, be it your candidates, be it your business, be it your recruiters. The key point is building a good rapport, because I've seen that if you have a good rapport with your business, you can convince them that okay, the candidates are less today, so is it okay? And if they are understand, and most of the time they will be understanding if you have a good rapport. And the same with the thing with recruiters. You know what? These candidates are creating a little trouble. They're not coming. If you have a good rapport, they will tell, okay, wait, I will take that lead. I will talk to them and convince them. So if you create that environment to build a good rapport, or even if we have a lot of candidates, the way we talk to them, the way we kind of interact with them is very, very important. You just don't treat like a candidate who's just looking for a job. You treat them like somebody whom you know personally. So that's, I think, very important.
Very right. Today, even if you have to see, many of the organizations, they do quite a lot of team building activities.
Yes.
As a per se, do you believe in building teams or building relationship with the team?
Building relationships.
How important is that?
It is very, very important.
Right, because anytime just building the teams, the activities that we do and things, maybe they just do it for the sake of doing it, but
Exactly.
they don't have that kind of connections or the
Exactly.
bond that they have to, the pulse don't meet.
Yes.
I think building relationship with it
Is very, very
very
important.
important. I so much agree with this.
Now that I've given up my job for the last 1.5 years, I've had candidates who still keep in touch with me, and they're like, you know what? I interacted with you long time back. Out of the blue, they'll be messaging, I interacted with you long time back. Can you please help me out with a job?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Don't you think? I think here sometimes for the TA especially, it's important for our personal branding.
Yeah.
Because see, we may work for an XYZ company today, tomorrow we may shift, but the kind of relationship that we build in with our candidates, they remember that person that they have interacted with.
Yes.
Right, tomorrow if they want to look for a change, they will remember you as a recruiter or somebody that she helped me or he helped me,
Yes.
finding a job here, and the kind of smooth interaction during their interview process
Yes.
actually gives your presence, right?
Exactly. And I think that brings me to a memory where I think you've done an excellent job with your candidates, used to keep in touch with them. And the way, especially diversity hiring, I think you're like a god of diversity hiring, I would say, because I've seen the kind of work that you used to do.
Thank you so much. And I still remember the conversations that we used to have with our managers. Okay, the lessons I've always believed in not taking permission, but it is only information.
Oh my God!
That
That left such a bad impact, I would say.
yeah, because I think it is important. See, at the end of the day, for all of us working under the same umbrella, right? It is important that we give them the information, and we need to have our ownership there and accountability of the role that we play.
Yes.
And then just inform that this has all been done, and I'm taking off today. And say, can I please take off today? No, I don't believe it.
Can I elaborate on that? If you don't mind.
Definitely, you tell me.
So I think when I joined, after, kind of coming into the company after a break, after joining a corporate, I was like so scared because it's such a huge company. It's the most happening company. And taking leave was a big challenge, and I had another recruiter whom I was working with. We both were like in the same boat. We were like, okay, if you need leave, we need to ask permission. Forget about leave. Even if we have to work from home, we would literally ask, can I work from home, and wait for that yes to come, only then work from, home. But when you came in, I think you really taught us that we have some value. It's not like we are somebody's slaves.
Very right. You're right.
And,
I think that's when we had quite off against from our own manager saying that
Exactly.
everybody trying to follow our footsteps.
Exactly.
And things like that. That was a challenging, but I think we stood by as one single team there.
Yeah, I think we became like a very strong team against our manager.
But anyway, that was really good experience. That was really very nice. And I've seen you had a great journey before joining one of the e-commerce company, and I think you topped it with receiving quite a lot of awards and things like that, right? And then from there to this job, and then I think pretty well things were going in all those, and I know a couple of changes internally. The organization had some internal changes and things like that, right? From there you moved into a different role.
Yes.
Okay, but you had already had that comfort zone, you had grown in that role, right?
Yeah.
Moving from one role to another, shifting from this perspective to another, how did you accept the new role? Do you really wanted to take that role with you? Did that role inspire you to take it forward, or you just said, because I had to take it, I had to take it?
I would like to give a little background before I, answer this question. So when I joined this corporate after 3.5 years, I had a amazingly tough manager to work with who made my life super, super miserable until I guess you came in and you said, no, people are valued. So I would like to, share an incident that happened. So we were building this new software development team, and we had hired this manager specifically to build this team. And this guy, for the first 1 or 2 months, he was in full spirits. He was like, yeah, we have to build a team, and he was doing interviews, and he had a whole lot of positions. So you can imagine building an entire team is no joke. You have all the levels, all the requirements, everything open. And we had interviewed this guy for a entry level position, and we finished finalizing. Okay, it was just 3 interviewers, including this manager, and 2 interviewers are saying that this guy is good, and the manager's telling, yeah, he's good. And the manager says, but I need to take an opinion from my US counterpart. And I was going through hell because this guy, after 2-3 months, he just dropped the ball, and he was like, I can only do 1 interview per week.
Oh, and having so many number of positions.
Exactly. And my work was getting piled up because he was not the only business I'm supporting. Because you understand that even if I'm supporting 3 recruiters, y'all have 5 businesses each y'all are handling, which means even if we count 5 businesses, if I'm supporting 3 recruiters, I have 15 businesses that I need to coordinate for.
100%.
And he was so very adamant about selecting this candidate, and I was so annoyed with him, and I had already told my manager that I'm not able to work with him. And she said, you know what, you have no choice, you will need to work, there is no choice for you to choose the business.
Oh.
And she had gone on leave when this incident happened, and the amount of tension I took, it impacted, I developed severe chest pain.
Oh.
And then finally, that day, I don't know, just the hand of God again, I would say. My skip manager called me to her cabin because I was just consolidating some data, and she was like, how's work? She casually asked me. I said, you know what, I'm having a tough time with this business. And she was like, have you informed your manager? I said, yeah. What was her answer? I said, this is what she told me. And she was like, I want you to stop working from this moment onwards with that person, with this business. Stop supporting this kind of business, needs different kind of handling. And my manager didn't take it well because I think she was given the feedback and she didn't take it well. And she came back from her holiday or leave, whatever she had gone for, and she made fun of me, telling, oh, you had a heart attack, you couldn't handle
Oh.
one manager.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
She
She didn't
told
even
this.
pause it even to have some emotions.
No, she didn't have any emotions, and the amount of chest pain I literally ended up going to Sakra Hospital for an ECG because I thought I was dying.
Oh my.
The stress was that high. I explored different roles and everything. Nothing that satisfied me. But when I took an internal transfer, suddenly this amazing role opened up, and I think the person who was contending with me for this role was a very experienced person, and that person didn't clear. I cleared the interview, and I'm like, okay. And I made it, and I took up that role. So I was like the single point of contact for all internal transfers across India. So I was like,
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Right. See, I think today, most of the, corporate people, when they say 9 to 5 job, there are quite a lot of challenges that they face in, right?
Yes.
Especially after COVID, people have moved in, from remote working, or it could be onto the hybrid model, right? I think the mindset has slightly shifted, saying that I want to look for not the company, but the manager that I'm going to work for. How do you feel this is?
See, I think there's a very famous saying which goes that people don't leave companies, they leave managers, and I think it's perfect to the T, I would say. Because when I was looking out for a change from my first manager, it was not because of the work I didn't enjoy, it was because of her. When I wanted, I think after that, when I wanted to move again, I think I genuinely wanted to look for a career movement, change, because I found a good manager. Then after that, again, it took a back set because again I was dealing with a tough manager. So it's always been that.
I think in that ways, to add up, Randall, I think the mid management that the struggle that they go through, because they are already in the preparation of getting into the next level.
Exactly.
Okay, while they also do the quite a lot onto the ground level work as well.
Yes.
Right, and they are preparing themselves. When they don't get a right mentor or a coach to guide them to the next level, I think
It
it's
is
a
a
great
big
challenge.
challenge. It's a big challenge. If you don't have the right mentor or you don't have the right resources to help you out, even if you want to grow in your career, it becomes a big challenge.
Now, just going back a few minutes of the story that you told us, and I feel really sad that the pain that you had to literally go through. But as when you took that step back, right, saying that no, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
How did you prepare yourself? Okay, and what made you say, okay, let me take this step back and be bold enough to tell your skip level managers, I don't think I can do it. How did you feel when you say, stop this, let me look at other opportunities? How did you prepare yourself in that?
So for me, in this instance, luckily my skip manager was the one who recruited me in my previous organization.
Amazing. Great.
So I had a good rapport with her, and she's seen my work. And for me, even if I'm taking a step back in my, career growth or whatever, in whatever I'm doing currently, I give my 200% in my work. I don't take setback at all. So I think that's kind of helped me, and to move into the next. I took a lot of time, a lot of thinking. I didn't care about other people. I am a person who doesn't really think about what the society talks about me.
Mm.
I am like, for myself, I will grow at my own pace. So I don't really bother about, today at my, all my friends, college friends, I look up their LinkedIn, they're in better positions. My own twin brother, he's an AVP of a finance company. I don't care. I'm happy with where I am at. I am pretty happy. So.
Mm. Right. I think at the end of the day, it is our self satisfaction matters a lot.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
What we are into will stretch to the extent, but not
Yes.
why to extend a stretch more where we are going to burden our own self.
Exactly. I think the most important thing, what I've learned is in this entire 14 years of work experience that I have got, is that you need to put your health first.
So much agree to it.
Yeah. And your family first. And if you don't have, when this episode of my, chest pain happened, I realized that tomorrow, God forbid anything happens to me, it's my family who's going to sit and cry, not these people who will just replace, me with someone else.
Very, very true.
So-
Very true. I agree.
Yeah.
But you were playing the role of coordinating recruitment and things like that. Change into a different role where you handle the transfer. It was more into the back end work. How did the transition happen, and how did you welcome a new role again?
Yeah. So
How was your learning stage there?
So I basically like took two internal transfers. So one from one team to another, from one sub organization to another sub organization. So that kind of happened to me. They themselves happened to call me, and they're like, what, we have a recruitment coordinator role in our team. Are you interested? Someone else is applying, but we're not very keen on her because one thing what they looked is the attitude you have, the way you carry yourself is very important. Even if you're very good at your work, if you have arrogance in you, they will not be okay with that. So when this girl approached them, they were not okay in taking her. They just approached me and they're like, are you interested? I said, yeah, I don't mind. And I had made it very clear to them that I can give you a commitment of 1 year to be in the same role, because I was already in the recruitment coordinator role for almost 7 years and I didn't want to do the same thing again and again. I told them very clearly, I want a career growth. So after 1 year, very surprisingly, I got this I-team recruiter role where I had to handle a lot of the entire transfers across India.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
bigger role.
Yes, it was a bigger role, and I would sit with my manager who was in Australia, and my skip manager, she was also in Australia, I guess, both of them. I would sit with them and we would ransack and wonder how to go about this thing. Should we take this face by face, or should we completely rip off the band-aid and take up everything on my head, because I was new to the role. And my skip manager was like, you know what, Randall, you should try to take the band-aid off, rip it off completely, see how you're able to take it. We are there to support you, don't worry. I'm like, okay, fine. And there was a lot of lashback because productivity is not counted for these recruiters anymore when it's an internal transfer. So they were not happy about the fact that this entire team was created.
Oh,
So it was, I was like a one-man army, handling all this and handling so many. I think after you transitioning from handling 3-4 recruiters to dealing with recruiters of 30-40 became like, I'm like, okay, where did I get myself into? But it was amazing because I that was the kind of role that I was looking at. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I really didn't feel okay. There were some struggles here and there, and friends like you who were there for me to vent out my frustration, because that's what we do. When you have good friends, when you find good friends, you vent out your frustration. And I think I had a good support system around, so they kind of helped me to kind of take up this role. And there were challenges, but I hold like the record of having no escalations despite handling 800 plus transfers in a
Crazy.
year.
Crazy.
Yeah, on my own.
But during this transit of your health care getting worse during your workplace, how did your family feel? Like they say stop working, Randall, enough. I think not much of pressure and things like that, or did they actually stand by saying that it's okay? Let's see. How was that journey of that struggle of the situation when you say that it's a high pressure job that time, especially now when it comes to your health, everybody is very very sensitive on that matter, especially when you fall sick while you're working the work
Correct.
pressure is not right.
Yeah.
How did your family support you there?
So I think at one point I told you, Shalini, that my sister was a big role model for me. So one thing I've always, what I've learned from my sister, and she always still till date, is never ever quit, no matter how difficult situation comes into your life. Learn to kind of, get through that challenges. Don't give up at any cost.
That's amazing. I really like never
Yeah.
up on those.
Never give up.
And then I know that you encountered quite a lot of toxic workplace.
Yeah.
How did you come over that? How did you? What are the challenges that you had, and how strong were you? During that period to place yourself in the place yourself in that role, and how did you come across with handling different stakeholders, candidates, and also new role and things like that?
So, Shalini, like, by nature, I'm like a very calm person. I'm a very quiet person. I don't get angry easily. But if somebody tests my patience, then I may explode like a bomb. So,
Adding to this point, how important it is for us to say no. I think today, what I have seen, many of them hesitate to say no. They start saying yes and start taking overburden on their plate when they know that they won't be able to fulfill. How important is no? I have enough of in my plate right now. Don't want to take more. Let me complete this and then take over additional responsibilities.
I think it's very, very important to say a no. Because you need to, when your manager or somebody gives you work, it's very important to set the right expectations. And I used to, always tell my colleagues who are junior to me by few years, I used to always tell them, always look at the quality of work you do over quantity.
So true.
Don't ever take up too much on your plate that you will not be able to perform. So I think that's one thing that I've believed in. And when I feel no, the work is becoming too much, I would always say no. I cannot do it. I believe in quality. I don't believe in quantity work.
Very right. I really like the way you said, because very important to say no.
Yes.
I think that in case if you are not saying no, that is going to affect us during our appraisal time. So these are the commitment that you took up, but you were not able to fulfill.
Yeah.
Right? And how important it is for us, okay, especially at the mid level, okay, or the little senior mid level, to build up a rapport and understand the wavelength with your managers.
I would say managers will be managers. I don't know if you can build a rapport also if they're going to be understanding, especially them. So it's just, as you said a while back, do your work should speak for you no matter what. Even if you have to say a no, they should be able to accept that no from you, because they know that you will do a good work at the end of the day.
I agree with you. Who's been your best leader? And if you have to tell you, who's been your role model at your workplace?
I think there are quite a few people that I look up to, but for me, a true leader is somebody who's not, I don't believe, as I said a while back, I'm not a person who believes that somebody who's growing in their career today, who's a VP or heading HR, is my role model. For me, a person is a good leader when you are being a good human being, when you're sensitive to your team members, when you are sensitive to others. So I think that's very important for me in a leader.
I so much relate to it, right? Because it is just not about work, your deliverables, being productive and things like that.
Exactly.
And you actually being empathetic.
Exactly.
Being at workplace, being empathetic is very, very,
Very, very important.
understand if they really need some help.
Yeah.
Okay, when there are struggle time, or just say, how has your day been? How's the family doing?
Right.
Don't you think that itself gives a kind of inspiration to the the team, saying that, oh God, take care a lot. That care, that empathy is so important,
That is very important.
right?
But there are some people who will kind of, put a false face saying, oh, you know what, why don't you take leave? Your leaves are pending. Or who would say, okay, fine. I mean, just to ask for the heck of it, how's your family, who would ask. I mean, you need to recognize who are genuine and who's not genuine.
Very right. I think in that ways we have to keep our clear vision on to understand the emotions of the other person. Very, very rightly said. I know after the transfer from from a coordinator to a transfer role, which is a bit larger role, than handling around 3-4 recruiters and having quite a lot of huge responsibility. It's a global role that you were handling, right? Things went well, but a drastic fall down.
Yes.
You went through a small, I will say a large breakdown there, where the team decides to put you on a PIP.
Yes.
Right? So, just to give you clarity, PIP is something onto the performance evaluation plan. That, how did you accept that? Because people moved you to that role with a larger responsibility, okay, because you had that potential. And suddenly somebody pulls you down saying that, no, you have to go through that PIP, irrespective of proving yourself. Came over that struggle. How was that struggle for you?
Honestly, it shattered me completely emotionally and mentally. I was totally broken because, as I said, I give my 200% in whatever I do. And I have had no escalations. Everybody, all my stakeholders were pretty happy. Of course, there were people who would crib here and there, but I handled them pretty well. I had built a good rapport. I had the difficult recruiters that I worked with. In the beginning, they were a little tough, but the minute I built a good rapport with them, I would go and casually talk to them. Um, I built a, and they were like, okay, fine, we know Ranjit. So it was going well. I I was doing an excellent job, but all of a sudden they said performance plan, and this came as a big shock to me.
Did you evaluate yourself to see why you were in that place?
So I did go through all the protocols on what grounds you need to put a person on employee on a performance plan, and I didn't meet any of those criteria. The amount of reviews and the positive feedback I got, and they will. My skip manager asked me twice, "Are you sure you want to quit this job because you've challenged the process?" Because when I asked my manager on what grounds are you putting me on performance plan, because there are certain protocols that you need to follow you, there are certain criteria that the employee needs to meet. She literally fumbled for words.
Right. Do you feel somewhere that she had a threat because you're performing very well and you had a larger visibility there?
Could be because she was handling a very small country and with very less transfers, and India was the biggest transfer market with the biggest now amount of transfers, and zero escalations, whereas other countries had escalations though they were handling a smaller space. I think she felt threatened.
Okay. So with the struggles that you went through in the workplace, your PIPs and resignations, going through quite a lot of humiliation and things like that, how did your family stand by here? How was the reaction at your family when you were going through this ups and downs in the professional life? I've heard a lot on this when I used to spend money on my shopping. So I've always said, Shal, hold on. Wherever I means I'm opposite.
Yeah, so it, and my husband was very supportive, I would say, because he knew how much I'd worked. There were days, as you said, work-life balance. There were days when I have stayed up at 12 midnight coordinating interviews because new team was setting up and there was confusion and I was sorting out everything. So he has seen the amount of hard work that I've put in, the Saturdays that we used to spend in office for events and all. So he was very respectful of my decision when I told him that I want to quit my job.
Right. Do you think, you started with this organization when your son was just 3.5 years old?
Yeah.
Right. When you left, you really, did you, feel guilty saying that, fine, I've spent enough of time with this working with this company with toxic environment, and also has given you quite a lot of learning and the strength and the growth as well. Do you feel it was a time for you to spend some time with your son right now?
Exactly. I think I'm like, okay, fine, I've spent 9.5 years, so I think I can take a break right now. So I decided to take a break, and not enough. This wave hit me. The next wave that hit me was my son was getting bullied a lot in his school. So he was getting impacted emotionally and academically. I would drop him to school after I gave up my job, and he would be in deep thought, and that kind of, I think everything happens for a reason. Maybe that break came to me because I could concentrate on him, because he was at, teenage life was always a turning point. So you need to give that time for your child. So I think I got that break at the right time because I could concentrate on what was he was going through, and he was going through such a bad phase of bullying that I decided to pull him out of school in the middle of his 8th standard. Okay, and then he started home for almost 7 months with me. When I was jobless, he was also, you know,
Don't you think it was important for you to
yes,
stand by him and give him that energy and that strength?
any day, and
I think likewise, we've always bonded well. I think the fights that we used to have at our workplace, or patching up the very next day, I still can't forget our team outing which we had been to Goa.
I'm gonna talk about it. I think you have really taught me a lot of good things, how to be a strong person, say no, and enjoy yourself. It's not only about work. When we went to Goa trip, I remember I was so scared of water. I remember. And I had to pull you into the. Yeah, you literally made me sit with you like nothing will happen. Just sit and relax. And that gave me such a nice feeling. And I still remember, I don't know if you remember, I have a fear for heights, and we were traveling by flight.
Yes.
And I was holding on to your hand so tight. I'm like, Shalini, I'm scared of heights. I cannot stand heights, and I was holding on to you tight. Some friends really stand by you no matter what.
Right, and I think after the break, spending some time with your son, you've picked up something very exciting,
Yeah.
which inspires you a lot. And I know you had passion towards this field from a very long time, right? So what is that? Tell us more about it, and how you want to scale up. Do you have plans to bring that as your second career?
Yeah. So what I'm passionate right now is about photography, and from office days, I've got a lot of compliments that I click really nice pictures. So when this happened, I'm like, let me work something on my own. And honestly, my inspiration has been the Gen Z. So I want to take this as a long shot is to move into photography completely, and as age catches up, I think we need to take the right decisions and move on.
So true, so true. Like, I think you've seen quite a lot of the graph going up and down and things like that, right? How have you actually prepared yourself? How the wave is going to come up, right?
Yeah.
We don't know, right?
Yeah.
So, how strong are you standing by to face the wave coming in through?
I think we need to be strong as mothers. We need to, no matter what we're going through, we need to kind of show a strong face no matter what. And preparation wise, I think I know what I want to achieve. I have certain things that I want to do. So I'm working towards that. So, yeah, and I want to be the best example that I can to my son.
Good. With this, what next? What's your aspirations right now? What are your goals?
So I want to, work for another few years, maybe until, I make myself a little more financially, collect more money, I would say, from corporates. If they are going to use, we might as well make use of them. So, save enough and move into photography, where I just take life one day at a time. I am not a person who would plan 5 years from now or 10 years from now, because you'll never know if you're going to live that long. So I believe in living only one day at a time. So
You've played quite a lot of different volatile, roles in HR. Okay, but what inspires you now? What is that you're looking forward for?
I am definitely looking at a job, you know, or a role where I can bring in my best, because when I took up this role of an IT recruiter where I had to handle a lot, that's when I realized the potential that I have. So and I don't mind doing a bigger role. I was very apprehensive because, as I said about the incident after my severe chest pain and all that, I was very apprehensive about taking up bigger roles. So now I'm pretty much, uh, you know, uh, ready for the next challenge.
Right, I know I'm actually speaking, quite a lot of takeaways, and I've gone back to the memories of, couple of years. I must say thank you so much for being in this show. I think if I have to tell you, quite a lot of takeaways I have from today's, the conversation that we've had. Uh, how how well you have to be prepared to see the wave coming in for you. How well are you going to stand by yourself, because you have always believed in yourself, your strength, especially when you had asked, when the team decided to put you on a PIP. I think you had all the data points to talk to your manager, says, give me a reason why I am in this position today.
True.
Right, but she did not have any reason.
Yeah.
I think that's where you knew what is your potential. You had a proper self evaluation
Yes.
done, right? You understood about the capabilities of yourself, and how well you also managed professional and also handle the pressure coming in your from your personal life.
Yeah.
Okay, truly inspiring, I must say.
Thank you.
Truly
Sure.
inspiring, and I'm sure people who are listening to this will be definitely going through quite a lot of challenges in personal professional life. I request them to stand by, believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Family always stands by. That's the biggest strength.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you so much for being in this show. Now, last, I would want to, I will just take 5 minutes of yours. I want you to help me understand what you feel about this show.
I think when you approach me, I'm like, okay, it's a good idea that you're doing this thing because, you know, people at this level usually don't get to talk what we are going through or, where we are at. So it's a really good platform for, people like us to kind of come and talk like this because there is usually only talking about, as I said, a good leader doesn't have to be somebody who's climbed up the ladder and there was a VP or a heading HR or be it any kind of a thing. It can, you need to be a good person. So it's a really good platform.
Right, that's when I think, when I thought about this, right, I felt the concept. Not many are actually touching upon the mid-level or the higher mid-level, the struggles that we go through, because how are we preparing ourselves to the next level?
Yeah.
What is the struggles that we have gone through with what we are today? And last question I want to ask you is, when I had asked you to write a river of your life, how was your experience?
It was, uh, I'm surprised myself how I've got through so much of challenges. You know, my husband losing his job twice. I am on career break and having a child when you're one of your spouses without a job and going through all the financial difficulties. How your families have stood by you. Um, I when I wrote all of it, I was like, I literally had tears because I'm like, how did this even happen and how did I even overcome all these challenges? I think it's just the hand of God that has brought us through everything.
Thank you. I think, often what we all do is, what's next? What's next is only the thing that we always think for.
Yes.
We don't think what's happened in the past.
In the past.
What is the way that we have passed through is something we always forget. I think
Exactly.
this exercise, writing a river of life, actually gives us some kind of inspiration, saying that we've gone so long way. Did I really fight these struggles? Did I really achieve this? Maybe kind of an inspiration to plan our future, and what our dreams that we could fulfill for, right? At least help us understand our potentials here, right?
True.
And last, thank you so much for being on this show. I literally enjoyed the conversation with you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the very best to see you success more in your life.
Shalini. Thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you so much. Great.
It was worth the drive. While meeting you, 1 hour, 30 minutes drive. It was really worth it.
Thank you so much. I wish that I see you in a bigger roles right now. You achieve your dreams very fast, and I want to see you more achieving in your